What's up, YouTube? I'm Danielle, and this is Kitchen Optimist. I'm a novice cook, but expert eater, taking on recipes that scare the sugar out of me 1 teaspoon at a time. Have you ever made caramels? I have not. Caramels, caramels. Hopefully, whatever version I'm making will satisfy my immense sweet tooth. For some reason, making candy always seems scary, even though it's like super retro, so they've been making it for long, since before there were air fryers or whatever, which I'm pretty sure is never used in the caramel making process. The other thing is burning. I've made syrupy type things before, and I've gotten it on my skin. Finally, I grew up in California and I lived in New York, so I could always get seized candy whenever the heck I wanted, or when my allowance or babysitting money allowed as a child. I've had the Costco ones, I've had the Trader Joe's ones. They're good, but I'm in it for the caramel. I don't really care that much about the chocolate. That golden, possibly sickeningly sweet goodness that literally melts in your mouth, that's where it's at for me. That is where it's at. Today I'm gonna use the recipe from Taste Better from scratch. I haven't used her recipes before. She does have a tiny instructional video on her site, so definitely check that out. Everything will be linked below. And it has over 500 positive reviews. 500 people can't be wrong. But perhaps the defining reason that I chose this one over another one is because she does not trust candy thermometers. Apparently, unless you calibrate them properly, it can give you an inaccurate result. I don't have a candy thermometer, and I'm not entirely sure that I would use it enough to justify purchasing it. So the recipe is super simple. The majority of this process is done at the stove, so that's what I'll be doing, but I am gonna prep my baking sheet for the pouring of these caramels afterwards. She suggests a jelly roll. I don't know if that is this. I call this a cookie sheet, but it looks similar to what she's using. So I'm gonna put the fate of my caramels in this pan. You either have to line the pan with parchment paper or generously butter it. And I hate terms like generously, as we've established. It leaves room for error. Well, I guess we're just gonna have to depend on the weight of the caramel syrup to properly depress the parchment paper. We're gonna move over to the stove where we're gonna combine our 1 cup of butter, 4 cups of granulated sugar, 2 cups of light corn syrup, and 24 ounces of evaporated milk. Later on, we add the teaspoon of vanilla. The biggest challenge of this recipe seems to be keeping the temperature of the mixture steady. Keep it over medium heat, keep the flame consistent, add the evaporated milk extremely slowly. 15 minutes per can, she says. This is to prevent the temperature change curdling the mixture. I'm sure it would still taste fine, but it might be a weird texture in your mouth. We eat with all 5 senses, right? We're gonna do our best. Apparently we're working with half sticks here today, so I will be using 4 teeny tiny ones. Giving it a stir with a spoon, 2 cups of Karo light corn syrup. Prep those in advance, so don't be like me. Of all the issues I expected to have, not being able to open my corn syrup was not one of them. Try them. I have no idea if this is what that part of the scissors are for, but these little guys just saved this recipe, or at least prevented it from failing before it started. Now I stir this over medium heat until my mixture comes to a boil, approximately 5 to 10 minutes. No joke, this gives off a crazy amount of heat. And yes, I know that fire causes heat, which is what I have going on here, but I don't think I'm used to cooking something that transfers that so immediately up towards my hands and face. It's one of the few times in my rather amateur cooking experience that I've considered wearing pot holders while stirring. It is really warm. I was not anticipating how high this would get and how fast that would happen. I'm definitely switching to that other pot immediately. Okay, that pot was not big enough. Perhaps that just ruined everything because the temperature did just shift. Maybe it'll matter less because I haven't put my evaporated milk in yet, but I'm gonna add the cans slowly. I'm gonna set my timer for 15 minutes so I don't put it in too fast. Okay, I'm like 3/4 added. I'm boiling, but only 4 minutes have gone by. Maybe I don't know what boiling is? I am 1.5 cans in and only 10 minutes, but it's been steadily boiling. Maybe I don't know what steady is. Okay, I just got sprayed by some bouncing sugar and it did not feel good. I'm real hot. I really don't know how long it's supposed to take to get to what she calls the softball stage. There's no way this is it, but I'm gonna try. Okay, that's a hard no. It fully just dissolved into the water. This liquid is jumping higher and higher. Oh my God, it's steaming up. So this is our dripping consistency right now. Obviously no expertise, but that seems too drippy to be anywhere near softball stage. I am becoming accustomed to the level of heat, but I am sweating. It's gotten a lot browner. It's gotten a lot more caramel colored, one might say. It is splattering like a mofo. My concerns about the splatters hurting when they hit are not unfounded. That did not feel good. We're about 40 minutes in and it's starting to sort of drip off or drop off in clumps from the spoon. So it's thickening, but I don't know if that means it's also curdling. She lists the cook time at around 1 hour, but she also planned for 30 minutes to add the evaporated milk and I took like 17 total. I hate the uncertainty. We're gonna go for it and test softball again. Okay, I think I'm at softball judging by that last test. So I think we're at the pouring time. This is probably very hot and I should have that on here too. So the first thing that I notice is that I have a rim of butter around the edge. And as I look closely, she curdled. I don't know if we'll be able to tell in the photos, but it's curdled. So I guess now I'll put it in the fridge and let it cool for a few hours. We'll see how it feels in the mouth, I guess. I don't know if the butter is a symptom of it curdling, probably. And one thing that I almost forgot, but I did not at the very last second, is I did add that teaspoon of vanilla right after it hit softball stage. I guess into the fridge for a few hours, after which we will test our likely mediocre results, but at least it's on brand. See you soon. I let this sit for a little over 3 hours, and the first thing I'm noticing is that that butter in no way incorporated back in. Not that I expected it to, but that film of butter is now just butter on the top. You can probably see it from there. Like butter, butter, butter. Lots of butter. Obviously, I'm not anti-butter if I'm making this recipe, but I'm pretty sure that's not the way it's supposed to be in its final form. She says it's much easier to cut when it's cold. Tastes better from scratch. Says you can either leave them in squares or wrap them like Tootsie Rolls. I assume in wax paper. I have that prepped to go. But frankly, I'm done with this. Perhaps I will wrap them like Tootsie Rolls another day. Much as is the theme for many of my cooking expeditions, these will not be regular sizes. There will be big pieces and little pieces, and I'm just gonna lean into that and say it's part of their charm. All right, moment of truth. Let's try one. You can see the butter along the side. When it was hot, it definitely looked like it had curdled a bit to me. But also, this is my first time doing that. Maybe I don't know what evaporated milk looks like when it's curdled. I do not have a fine enough palate to distinguish if the texture on these is off. To me, it tastes like sweet, sticky magic. These took for fucking ever. 100% worth the threat of burns. It smelled super good when I was making it too. I obviously didn't do a perfect job. Again, buttery piece for display, but these are really good. I would definitely make these again. Probably not until winter when I won't mind the waves of heat emanating from that pot into my face and in the direction of my hands. Most important takeaways: even if you mess up and pour in your evaporated milk too fast, you will end up with a totally edible result. I took about 15 minutes for both cans, where she suggests 15 minutes her can. It did take about an hour of cooking. Softball method seems to have worked in terms of testing if it's ready. That was my first time doing that. Candy thermometer, not necessary. Go for the bigger pot. That was the biggest mistake that I made, was thinking that I didn't need as large of a pot as I did. I just didn't realize how much sugar bubbles straight up. And then once you add milk, it didn't occur to me. I was not prepared for that. Thank God I had that other pot on hand. That would have been a disaster. Pre-open your syrup. That almost ruined everything before it started. Shout out to this part of these scissors. They are the MVP of this prep process. So again, the recipe will be linked below. Highly recommend this. Plan a whole goddamn day. Do not make it with children. Somebody will get injured. Don't forget to put your vanilla in like I almost did. Don't wear cashmere while cooking it. Do cover your arms. Possibly wear oven mitts to protect your hands while stirring. Total time spent, including the setting time in the fridge, was 4 hours, 45 minutes, and 12 seconds. I could have let it sit a little less time, but she also says you can let it sit overnight. So no caveats needed for that number. Price for ingredients was quite inexpensive. It's $23.21. Price for equipment was $139.44. You probably have plenty of the things in your home already. You have a knife. You have a wooden cutting board. You have a large pot. Large, do not go medium. Definitely go large. But everybody's kitchen is stocked differently. I like to include all of the items, sort of a worst case scenario budget-wise. All in, that's a price of $162.65 pre-tax. This is a win for my taste buds, not necessarily a win for my waistline. Even though it's likely curdled, my peasant palate can't tell the difference. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Danielle. This is Kitchen Optimist, fighting the good fight for mediocre cooks everywhere. Please like and subscribe. And don't forget, stay sweet.